What's up, everybody? It's Heat Override, and I'm ready to bring the pain for you this week. Oh, another episode where I got two screens next to each other. This one's definitely a big episode because this is an Erieite right here. This is somebody in my hometown. So go ahead, introduce yourself, Ryan.
What's going on, man? I'm Ryan Dolly. I am born and raised in Erie. Just
Mhm,
moved back a couple years ago. You know,
mhm.
COVID
Yeah,
happened and then divorce happened and I'm
yeah,
here.
yeah,
So
yeah. It's something. So first I found you through the Idiotville podcast. You were doing something with the music. You were highlighting music in the South. I want to say I wouldn't say Nashville area, something like
no,
that.
no, no. So I was with Idiotville.
Yes.
Idiotville brought me on when I came back from Thailand after
Okay.
during COVID.
All
And
right.
then uh from there I just kind of created my own music podcast.
Hmm.
Went really well for a while, but it was just too much work.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
but just getting submissions every day from artists and
Yeah.
having to weed out the good and the bad, and
Hmm.
uh, then having them sign waivers saying that we're allowed to play their music and stuff. It was
Yeah.
just too much.
No, that's
But
hard. That is hard. You're
yeah,
right about that. Because like it's like Chris Jericho recently, he went away from using Judas by Fozzy, of course, because there was
yeah,
just always this weird thing, and he's talked about it multiple times on his podcast. How that there's always been this like gray area how he can use Judas, even though it's his own song, but there's just because of the copyrights and things like that, it really makes it difficult. It's definitely some
yeah,
hoop jumping and stuff like that.
yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
It
But
is.
you
So
know,
you talk about your podcast, and definitely we want to talk about the 814 Spotlight podcast and everything that you're doing. So
yeah.
tell us a little about it. Give us a little bit of what brought it together, of course, and where you're at right now.
Yeah, Spotlight 814, it's a local theater podcast. Um, and I kind of brought that on with you know, you know how the showcase used to happen every Thursday in the Erie paper,
Yes. Yep, I do.
and it highlighted everything going on in the
Yeah.
arts,
That
and yeah, man, and like
I
they
miss
just
that now.
me too, and
Yeah.
it was great. They had like every year or every week, it was, they would tell you what
Mhm.
shows were coming up, what shows had already happened, and they would
Yeah.
review the shows. So that's kind of what we're doing with Spotlight 814. We're just doing it in
Yep.
podcast form, and we have our website, spotlight814.com.
There you
And,
go.
we write reviews up on there, and yeah, it's all good, man.
That's
We're having a good
awesome.
time, seeing a ton of theater and performing
Mhm.
a lot too.
Yes, that is something we get to. But maybe that's back in the day, like in the mid 80s, when they had these things out back then. That's probably how my mom would find half the stuff we'd go to because I don't even know, like we didn't have GPS or phones back then, right? So we just
Right.
had the map. And I remember one time we ended up in an Indian powwow in the middle of central Pennsylvania. And there was like real life Indians with full headdress walking around. And I was shook. I was like, whoa. And me and my brother are just sitting there and I'm looking at it and I'm just like it was so, but it was like the hottest day in the entire world too.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
I had to go into this little enclosure where there's video games there. So I was
Okay.
like, all right, I'm at home now. But it was
Yeah,
because there
yeah.
was air conditioning and stuff. But yeah, how they found it, and I remember that the showcase and they having stuff like that, and also the arts and theaters. Something the one time that I read about the Kingsbrook Club. And I was like, oh, I always wanted to go to the Kingsbrook Club. Then I went to the Kingsbrook Club and I figured out it was a meat market. So I'd be back in the day, like, clubbing
Yeah,
there
yeah.
till 3 a.m. and watching fights go down. I mean, just crazy things. But,
Yeah.
talking about a lot of that stuff. So you did that and you wanted something to start with the showcase, but you keep going out and reaching out to other artists. So what do you have planned for the future for the spotlight?
Ah, man, just up and at 'em with it. It's like I have my co-host, the lovely Brenna Thomler.
Yep.
And she's incredible. She's from Meadville,
Okay.
but she lives in Erie now. She's a graphic novelist.
Hmm.
She's a playwright. She can do it all, man.
That's awesome.
Um, so I got her on board still,
Yep.
and we're we're gonna create some events. We're gonna
Hmm.
go see more theater. We're both gonna perform more,
Yes.
and
So
just bigger things coming.
so that's what I love about podcasting is podcasting can sometimes help you connect with people in your inner city and sometimes out of the city too. I mean,
Yeah,
it's insane that some of the people that I just through Alex's the messengers of video game journey, the VGM
yeah,
journey, I had a whole interview with one of the guys for the VGM podcast. His name was Martyrus. He came on the show, and it's I would never have met him if it wasn't for Alex, and I would never have met Alex if it wasn't for Idiotville as well too.
right.
So, having that Erie podcast network and being able to connect with, the different podcasts, even though everybody is like in their lane, and it's hard. Like some people think this is just you just sit down and talk. No, they don't.
Oh,
There's
man.
so much to the projection. So who does a lot of the production for you? Is it you or her?
Oh, it's all me.
Yeah.
She comes with the facts. She's
Mhm.
spitting facts on the show every week. She's busy, man. She's working on her next graphic novel.
Ooh.
Um, and I'm the audio guy, so I do all the production and everything and editing and stuff like that.
Yeah. It's
But
you're
you
doing a
know,
one-man show, man. I know it.
no, no, man, I couldn't do it without her though.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
exactly. Well, that's like that's how Bring the Pain really started. It started out some conspiracy, lots of conspiracy theory, edgy moments, going a different way, in different, like saying having a conversation with someone and just going, yes, sir, and then turning around and being like, man, that guy needed a punch to the face or something stupid like that.
Yeah,
One
yeah,
of those moments. But so that's why I used to weigh in and everything, and into now where it's more that I work with Dr. Roto. So they take a lot of like the posting, of course, with Dr. Roto, even though I can do it, it's
right.
easy to step back. So that was something that I was able to step into. They say when one door closes, one door opens. I hurt my
Yeah,
leg. My job wanted to move on. And 2 weeks later, Dr. Roto and his, being part of his network came a knocking, and it just keeps getting stronger and more fun every single year. So it's practically turned my podcast into a full sports podcast, which is fun. But this is why I wanted to do this hometown series. That's especially what this is part of. And it's to, reconnect with a lot of people in our inner city, but also to
yeah,
put out podcasts for our cities that when people look at the podcast, that they go, okay, well, we can listen to Heat Override for sport bets and sports stuff and being crazy. And then, okay, now we can listen to Ryan and, talk about theater because I know nothing about theater. I was Moses one time at Grace Gospel Chapel in 1984, 83.
right, right.
And that was it was fun. It was fun for me, but you take this to another level because I see you doing so many different plays, Tootsie being one of them most. Give
Yeah,
us
just
about
got
that
done with Tootsie.
experience.
I
Tell
was
us
a
about it.
blast, man. Had a great time.
Mhm.
Erie Playhouse is a great place to perform.
Yeah.
Um, and I knew nothing about Tootsie going
Okay.
into it. But I loved it, man. I played Jeff, the roommate.
Hmm.
Um, God, who played that in the movie? Um,
Oh, I couldn't tell you.
shit.
I remember
Yeah,
watching Tootsie back when I was like five, but
yeah, yeah.
I've never watched it again.
Right.
So,
It's classic, but
mhm,
it we just had a great time, man. The audiences were cracking up every night.
yeah.
Um, and I've performed at the Playhouse. I've been a yeah, I got back on stage last year,
Okay.
like early last year.
Hmm.
And I'd been away from that for about 5 years.
All right.
Because I was living overseas. I was
Yeah.
singing in bands and stuff and like all over Asia and doing all kinds of
You
stuff.
touring, man. You was out.
Yeah, yeah, I was
Hey,
all
man,
over the
there's
place.
sometimes you have to do that to get where you're at right now. But the fact
Yeah, for
while you were
sure.
gone for all those years, it's something like coming back to it now. It must feel like you're completing a part of your heart that you've missed for a long time.
Oh,
Would you say?
absolutely, man. Yeah, like I missed it so much. Last time I performed before like last January
Uh-huh.
was like 2015
Hmm.
when I was in Hong Kong. And like I was doing a production of Assassins in Hong Kong.
Okay, I'm familiar
Um,
with that.
yeah, I played John Wilkes Booth.
All right,
Uh,
makes sense.
yeah, yeah.
Did the hair? You get the hair too, right? Because I probably you probably have a picture of it on Facebook, I would assume, right?
It's somewhere. I can't remember. It's been a long time since I did that one, but
Okay.
yeah, like I came back and I did cabaret out in Meadville at the Academy Theater.
Hmm.
I played the MC in that.
All right.
And then I did Rent out there.
I
right?
remember you doing
Yeah,
Rent too. That one
yeah,
I do
yeah.
remember.
And I was Angel in that one.
All right.
And then I did Beautiful at the Playhouse, the
Mm-hmm.
Carole King musical,
Yep.
and then Tootsie. And
Nice.
now I'm venturing all the way out to Franklin to
Oh,
Barrow Civic Theater, and I'm going to be playing Jesus in Jesus Christ Superstar.
oh, there we go.
Yeah,
Which would
yeah.
be which will lead me to one of our little discussions we had about Jesus
Mm-hmm.
Christ Superstar.
Yep.
Yeah, like you said, at my age, it must have felt like it was an eon. I thought it when it ended for just the first half, I was like, all right, we're good. And so
Yeah.
my dad would always sucker us into these things because he would have to bring us all. My mom loved all this stuff. So she goes in and I'm like, all right, let's go. Like, and he's like, Bobby, that's the first half. And I'm like, no, it isn't, Dad. And he goes, no, no, we're not leaving. And the problem is back then, a lot of people forget that, like, you couldn't eat, you couldn't bring stuff, you didn't have phones,
Right.
and the concessions didn't have what you needed to stay alert for half this stuff. You got some Cheetos, man.
Right.
And it was long, and and I think that was it. I think if they still use and it's still set up the way I remember, we were in this it was like the balcony area over here to the top. So we were
Yeah.
looking down. I don't know if it changed since because I haven't been there since.
Where was that at? At the
At
Warner?
oh no no no. So this was at Family First or the church across the street from that, whatever church that is again.
Oh man.
Yeah,
Yeah. That evangelical
yes, yes,
place.
yes, yeah, that
Yeah.
thing. So that it was we were up there. If it's still up there, up in there's like there's it was like a little area up there, a little balcony, and we were just up there. So it's just this and it. Of course, my younger brother at the time too. You know, he's younger. He's like almost 2 years younger than me. So he
You
just
were
was
what, 6,
yeah,
right?
probably
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
So he was like 4,
Yeah.
and he was a psycho. So I was like, dude, like we could like it, but we made it through. We did it. I will say of all plays, the one, and I know this is the probably be most people's go to, is it's gonna be Nutcracker. Like I will
Okay.
actually sit through the Nutcracker. I haven't done it in a long time, but of the last plays that I have sat through, it was the
Yeah.
Nutcracker.
All right. I'm gonna challenge you now to come out to Franklin and catch me in Jesus Christ Superstar when you're not 6 years old and and not at some evangelical church. This will be so much better than that, I promise you.
It would. You're gonna have to get me that date. Do you know the date? Because I
We open April 26th and we run 2 weekends until May 5th.
okay. So yeah, it would if anything, it would have to be the weekend before May 5th because I have a tournament May 4th.
All
So
right.
and then May 5th is my birthday, but you know,
Yeah, yeah, nice.
I definitely want to hopefully win that tournament because I don't want to go to my birthday all beat up and stuff. But no, that's just a
Right.
whole nother thing. But no, I will definitely check that out. And if it can be working, I will get it. But I was thinking that before you brought that up, I will definitely have to see you play at some point, perform at some point,
Yeah,
because I can
yeah.
see the videos, I can see all that, but it's something it's like I haven't done for a long time. So,
Mhm.
it's something that I can maybe even talk my daughter into because,
Yeah,
you know,
it'd be a good little date night, man.
yeah. And that'd be something, you get spiffy up for because the last thing that really got her, I would say, would be one of her first concert was the Trans-Siberian Orchestra.
Okay.
She loved it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's a little different, but it's still a performance,
Yeah,
in my
yeah. How old is
opinion.
she now?
Oh, she's 12.
Okay, dude, she'll love it. She'll love
Yeah.
it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we'll do that. So you talk a lot about the Erie Playhouse and everything like that.
Mhm.
What are some of your inspirations towards that? Is there someone or someone's music that inspires you to walk this path?
Man, like I so I started doing musicals in high school
Hmm.
and I did it to meet girls. That was the only reason I
Hey,
started.
we
But
there's guys that would join the bands for those reasons as well.
but man, like I caught the bug, dude. I enjoyed it. I
Mhm.
sucked at it when I started. I was terrible. I couldn't
Yeah.
sing. I couldn't like nothing. But I went off to college. I went to Slippery Rock for sports management.
Okay.
Um, back in God 2003,
Hmm.
and went for sports management. Hated that, and decided to go to Gannon for theater because I
Okay.
missed it. I missed performing, even though I was
Yeah.
not great at it. I was like, I could learn.
Mhm. Yeah,
And yeah, like I didn't get cast in the first show I auditioned for there. And I went down the road to the Roadhouse Theater. You remember the
mhm.
Roadhouse?
I remember the Roadhouse.
Yeah. So I auditioned for Bat Boy the Musical
All
over
right.
there.
That one I've
And
never heard of.
Richard Davis, who just directed Tootsie,
Hmm.
he was a director there. He cast me based on my looks alone because like he needed like a skinny dude,
Yeah,
and that was me. That was me.
yeah, yeah.
So I went out and I bought the cast recording when I found out like, you know, who I was playing. I was playing Bat Boy, and I listened to it and I was like, dude, I cannot sing that. I can't. It was like this high rock musical.
Okay.
And I called Richard. I was like, I can't do it, man. I can't sing that. And he's like, all right, just work on it. You're gonna
Hmm.
be fine. I promise. And I basically just taught myself how to sing in the car,
Nice.
like within
Sometimes
that
you got to
month.
do that. You
Yeah,
know,
yeah,
you got to take it back to almost anything. I could compare it to my martial arts. I can compare it to podcasting. You can compare
yeah,
it to
yeah.
podcasting. If you don't actually have the heart or, the want to get better at it, you're never going to get better. You'll
Oh, for
always
sure,
be
for
that
sure.
flat line. So, the fact that you said you thought you were terrible at singing, yet
Oh,
now
dude,
you
I was.
sing, but
Trust me, like I was singing bass in high school. I was like, I had no idea what I was
I
doing.
the only closest I will say I played clarinet in middle school, seventh
Yeah.
grade.
All right.
I was in a concert at Wilson Middle School. They always had a big band concert. So I was in that. And outside of that, I really didn't do anything else in music. So, but what I did do was when I would be on the corner with my buddies before school is we would beatbox and I would be and
Nice.
I could only have my little bass and then the other guy would come in with this and stuff
Yeah,
like
yeah.
that. But overall, like a lot of my friends are musicians. Dave Steele, he's been in many different bands, Abnegation and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Chris Leonard being the drummer of that, growing up with him too, and a lot of other people that are around. Emoffs, not so much Scotty, but Kevin was a year behind me in school, but we ended up in some home ec classes or something like that together. So it was just something I always kind of was always associated with that kind of that bands and always being local. So it always intrigued me, but the support of a lot of those bands they have to fight for now.
Oh
Just
yeah,
like
man.
it's hard for podcasting, it's also hard for the Playhouse as well too. I assume for some things that to get out there, sell tickets and
Yeah,
things
I
like
mean,
that.
for some things, like a lot of these shows will sell themselves.
Oh yeah,
Like you do these Disney shows, and they're gonna sell like crazy.
oh yeah.
They got Beauty and the Beast coming up this year. That's
All
gonna
right.
sell like no problem.
Yep.
But they do some interesting things too, like Tootsie. Like Tootsie's a brand new musical.
Hmm.
Um, People didn't really know it,
Yeah.
but we had our first weekend. It was kind of slow, and then word of mouth picked up, and seats were full, man.
Yeah. You see,
So
that's the thing. That what you just said there. I didn't know that that was a musical, but it kind of felt like Tootsie's been a musical forever in a
nope,
way.
nope.
And
Yeah,
it's not. So
yeah, no.
that's a
It was a movie with Dustin Hoffman,
hmm.
back in the day, and like in the 80s, 90s.
Yep.
And then, somebody turned it into a musical. It was on Broadway like, I don't know, 6 years ago.
Hmm.
And the rights just became available and the Playhouse did it. And people didn't really know it.
That's awesome. And that's great. And that's one big thing that I wanted to bring you on for and to talk about, some other things that we'll get to here in a few seconds. But
Yeah.
at the same time is to also talk about this scene because it's unknowns to me. And if there's people in Erie that listen to my podcast or everything like that with the sports and they see this come up and they go, I know Ryan, or I see that popping around. You got the runner up for podcast of the year. I mean,
Yeah.
but you're putting it out. You're putting out podcasts and you're trying to make a difference and you're trying to, like you said, shed the light on something it is, take over for that magazine, but make it more live, bring people on, and like you said with your hosts, and just make it so much different, unique, the way that
Yeah.
people want their information delivered now.
Oh, for sure. And we're not just doing the podcast, we have the blog, and we're
Hmm.
reviewing shows like the showcase used to do. And
Hmm.
you know, it's good exposure for the theaters. It's good. I don't know. I mean, like theater people like to, and like they
Yeah.
like to hear about like I don't know, how people like the show, or what's coming up soon. And
Hmm.
I think it's important to get it out there. It was great when the showcase was doing that, and now we don't have that. So I'm trying to fill that void.
Yeah. And I think that
So
the void you bring up can be filled better. I think back in the day when you look at those and you look at a reading material, you could
yeah,
only really keep so much onto a page. So you would only get like a one sentence like, how
yeah,
did you
yeah,
like the show? Oh, it was great. Oh, it was different. It was amazing. It would all be the same, rebranded stuff. But
yeah,
like when you can have somebody on, or you could do an interview and you could talk to somebody for 3 to 4 minutes and you could use that as part of your show, it only
yeah,
just
man.
shows that you can dive more into those minutes with that person as
Well, you know
opposed
what?
to one sentence.
Like, we won't do it for like 3 minutes. We'll talk to him for an hour. We'll
Of
talk to him
course.
for an hour and a half. And
Hmm.
we don't just get to know the shows. We get to know the people that are in the
Yes.
shows, and that's what I love about it. Like, we're getting to know people. We're getting to meet all these people that are in the community,
Hmm.
and uh, I mean, we're not just highlighting people in our community. We're highlighting people coming through Erie.
Hmm.
Um, we just interviewed the 11-year-old girl that played Annie in the national tour that just came through
Yeah.
at the
I
Warner
seen
Theater.
I seen that.
And
I seen that. Like you
yeah,
popped it up because like now that you're popping up on like stuff and somehow Facebook is hiding you from me or some of those posts. I could see him. Heck yeah, I'm gonna share that stuff because
yeah,
that just
man.
shows it more. Just gets the eyes on it. And I think that some people lose fact that that those likes and everything and the shares really do mean it. It
Oh, for
spreads it
sure.
so much more to the rest of the community. And when people are going outside of the community to seek plays or musicals, or they want to go see a band and they're going to another city to see a band when they have local bands that they could see here that maybe cover the same type of music or not. Like when they just had the Kiss cover band Strutter,
Right, right, right.
that
Yeah,
was really cool. I remember I wanted to go see Strutter at Dunkirk. And right there, they were playing it. I think it was an Italian restaurant or that little strip right off there in their little, like, whatever it is. They have a little
okay,
shopping center. But
yeah.
anyway, I was going to go see him. And then we kind of just pulled out because the daughter was just like, well, I only want to see real Kiss. I don't want to see backup Kiss.
Yeah,
I said, okay.
backup Kiss.
Backup. I was like, okay, okay. I was like, you don't care about them trying to perform? She's like, no. I was like, all right, cool. Well, and that's how it is. But to see something like that come to Erie and other things, it helps spread that out. And that's
Oh
something that
yeah,
you've been doing.
yeah,
And
for sure.
you brought it up, like, and just feeling good about having those conversations with people. I think that
Yeah,
that's when humans are at their best, when people are at their best, when they're able to open up and accept and listen to somebody else as opposed to sometimes locking up, which sometimes a lot of phones keep a lot of people into their screens, and they do that with.
yeah. Well, and like with that kind of stuff, with the Warner Theater and everything, we've been very lucky to partner up with Broadway and Erie.
Hmm.
They're the ones that bring all these shows here. So they're bringing Stomp, and then they're bringing Shrek the musical later
Okay,
this year.
that should
And
be fun.
yeah, man, and we're gonna have somebody from both of those shows on the show before they arrive in Erie.
That's
And
awesome.
we're giving away tickets.
Hmm.
And we partnered up with Mercyhurst
Yep.
University, and we gave away tickets for Jessica Vosk, who's a big Broadway star.
Hmm.
She performed at Mercyhurst
I
Thursday
see the
night.
yeah, the D'Angelo Center. Is it still
Yeah,
the
yeah.
D'Angelo Center? Yep.
Yep,
Okay.
yep. And
Yeah.
it was fantastic, and it's something that like Erie is lucky to have.
Oh, I agree
Like
with that. They get some
like
really good talent at that D'Angelo Center.
I hung out with Alan Cumming and Ari Shapiro in the parking lot back there. Like, it was what in Erie, Pennsylvania.
That's crazy.
It's
You know,
insane.
I remember there was I think it was a violinist. There's a lady violinist. She does video game music. And I remember going through some of my recent episodes and the video game episodes that I did recently, and she popped up and I was like, man, I remember her being on that billboard. And I'm
Yeah,
like, oh, I was like, it
yeah,
just
man.
makes sense. And when you open yourself up to something different and things like that, then it really does, it broadens your horizons. That's the one
Yeah,
thing. And the more you learn every single day, you have more to live life. If you just learn to paint, then you just paint. But if you learn
yeah,
to paint a rock or you paint on canvas or if you learn how to make a shaker bottle that might cause that will help relieve stress when you're stressed or something like that, and the art that
Yeah.
goes into it, you got, you know, that you're, it's limitless, limitless.
Yeah.
So,
Absolutely, man. So
so I,
it's great to, highlight the theater that's going on in the community, and it's not just here in Erie. We're out in Meadville.
mhm.
They, God, there's
You said
uh
Franklin as well too.
yeah, Meadville Community Theater. There's the Academy Theater out there is incredible.
Hmm.
The Barrow Civic Theater, it's
Hmm.
all in the 814, and
Yeah,
we're trying
that's
to get to as much of the 814 as we can. The
that's
814 is still a
perfect.
little too big for us to be going way down to like State College, but we're
Yeah,
not going to be doing that.
yeah. I will tell you 4 hours to go do a podcast real quick to come back, and it's like, man, on time you get back. I remember we went down there to pick up it was a present for the wife, but it was a dog, and it was just like, if this dog can just at least keep it together for four, and it was a puppy. I was
Yeah,
like, just keep
yeah.
it together for 4 hours, take a nap. We good, we good. We did make it through
Yeah.
that. So talking about good things and talking about, down in state college and stuff like that. You love sports?
I do, man. I'm a huge sports fan. John Duckworth and I used to do
Mm-hmm.
Idiotville Sports together,
Yep.
and Sean Kiley was in there as well.
Yep.
And we had a great time with that, but like, our schedules just got mashed up and just couldn't do it anymore. But yeah, I'm
No.
still a big sports fan.
Yeah. So of course he loves hockey. He loves the Penguins like
Yeah,
Alex.
yeah.
I'm pretty sure because Alex in his VGM chat on Discord, him and them guys go in there, and I'm a Kings fan the other day, and the Kings came back and beat them, and I was
Yeah.
like, uh-oh, guys, I think the Kings got this one, and it was just just fun to connect that. So hockey, you follow the NFL? Do you follow basketball, baseball?
Yeah, yeah. So I don't really follow hockey too much, but I
Okay,
do follow NFL,
all right,
baseball, NBA.
yeah. What are you
Not huge
seeing?
on college, but like
Yeah.
I'm a Buckeye fan when it comes to football, but like other sports I don't really follow the college stuff. But
Okay.
yeah, man. Big
So
Cavs fan.
you're a
Big
Cavs fan.
yeah, yeah, big Cavs fan, big Browns fan.
Okay.
Guardians, all Cleveland sports, man.
Okay. So that's why I keep it all LA. That's just because of my
Okay.
practically because of my dad. And so what happened was my uncle's a Detroit Lion fan. My dad was a Packer fan originally. Rams block a punt, return it for a touchdown. They beat the Super Packers, but I thought it was cool. Rams. So that's how I've been a Rams fan all my life.
All right.
And so and he picked up, he was a Lakers fan because my uncle was a Celtics fan. So then I was like, well, it just fell in that I should be a Kings fan and I should be a Dodgers fan. But my dad didn't really watch hockey or baseball.
Yeah.
So I just took it all on. So it's kind of cool sometimes to do that, keep it all in one city.
You know what though? Like my brother was a big Pittsburgh guy,
Hmm.
and when we were kids, he was a dickhead. So I chose Cleveland
Yeah.
despite him.
That's like the people who do the Pittsburgh and Dallas kind of feud or things like that. I feel
Yeah.
that way about like Rams and Niners too. Like sometimes like recently when Seattle was owning the division for a minute, and I'm looking at the 49ers, and I'm just like, beat them because I want the Rams to get some stuff. I was
Yeah.
actually like a 49er fan for a moment, but then I'm like, why do I even like the 49ers? As a Rams fan, I don't want to play that. I don't really deal with that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, man.
did you enjoy this football season?
It was fun. It was fun.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not a big fan of what Cleveland's doing,
Oh,
with their
okay.
quarterback situation. I'm not a big fan of that, but
No.
it was good to be back in the playoffs.
Hmm.
Didn't go well, but it was a fun season. It was a fun season.
Yeah. And I gotta say, I don't want to talk about Flacco too much, but Flacco really did provide some, stability to that.
That
But
was it was a little
man,
spark, man.
if you guys would have had Chubb,
Yeah,
wow.
yeah.
Oh, dude. I mean, I
Dude,
loved Ford
Ford.
though.
No, Ford was like he's a
It just
bust, man. He's
I
he ain't
wanted to
shit.
love him, and I backed up. So I went and I on fantasy football, I went and grabbed Ford everywhere, and it worked out so
Yeah.
well for me. But at one point, I'm sitting there looking at my receivers because I'm stacked at running back, and I thought about trading him a couple times, but just never worked out. Ended up keeping him on my team. I had some other injuries come up,
Mhm.
so that kind of really helped out in that. But I
Yeah, yeah,
I I don't mind Cleveland at all. I mean, actually, I love Chubb as a fan, and
yeah.
I love watching Amari Cooper play, and the way David Njoku really came down the stretch was he was just
He's
unstoppable.
a
But
beast, man. Njoku, he's a monster. a
he put it
monster.
together. He
Yeah.
this is what everybody thought he could be his entire career, and now he's that.
Well,
I
that's
don't
why
want to
he
see.
got that extension, man. They saw that
Yeah.
in him, and
Mm-hmm. God.
yeah,
I got things with dreadlocks too. Sometimes, man, when big dudes just wear dreadlocks like that, it just makes it meatier. Like going back to Steven Jackson for the Rams.
yeah.
You know how he used to just ramshackle people and just run into them and just explode and just those collisions.
Marshawn Lynch, man,
Yes, and
Marshawn.
you can't forget about Marshawn either. And just saying it right now, you got James Cook trying to be a hero, and I'm like, but then you see Derrick Henry, and you see that huge, you see it running out, and I'm just like, dude, man, sometimes, man, those power backs that get that freaking huge hair coming out the back, oh, I love
Yeah,
it so
yeah.
much.
I think about Troy Polamalu with the hair, man.
Yes, too him.
That dude was a monster.
Yeah, see what I'm saying? We're not saying that you have to have great hair flying everywhere to actually be a great football player.
I feel like it helps.
I agree. I always thought the arm wraps help too. Like if you somebody would have the one arm wrap on,
Yeah,
it's like,
yeah,
oh, this man means business, man. He's got one arm wrap.
yeah,
You know, or the old school when the DT would have like the 6 cage or something like that.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Oh man, like the Mike Allstott neck.
Yes, dude, Mike Allstott, man. I miss guys like that who just fucking plow people over.
Just eviscerate. Like they're like he's gonna
Yeah,
tackle, and it would just be like this, like, and he would just push him through. It,
yeah,
and that's why some people on like all these and analysts and things they go, oh, well, Derrick Henry's washed up. I don't care if he's washed up. I just want to see him one on one with a quarterback, the cornerback, man. I just can I get that at least once or twice a game, man? As long as I get
bro.
a truck stick, I'm good.
He's still got a few good years left in him.
He does. I'm not bailing on
Yeah,
him. I'll
no,
take him late. I don't.
and Chubb's got the injuries, but he's gonna be a beast again. Like
Oh, dude.
he's coming back.
Yeah, it just, just one of those bad situations that happens. It happened to me when I got hurt that led to that whole thing. I literally just I slipped,
Yeah,
and it was like it was just right there on ice. And I'm like, okay, well, there it is. And my knee goes backwards, which I'll tell you, I never wanted to feel that because it's always not cool when you see it.
oh, I
And
hate
then I
seeing it,
felt
dude.
it. It's just weird. It's just like if it was like, bloop, and I'm like, yep, that was weird.
Yeah,
Yep,
dude.
that's what that felt like.
Watching that replay of Chubb, oh,
Yeah, and
that
we've
was
all seen
that
some.
that was nasty, man.
And I'm surprised it wasn't worse, but you know what? He's just
Yeah,
built differently. He takes a big hit like that. It took him out, but he'll come back. He'll be strong. And that's the things like people forget about some of those beasts. Like I'm gonna bring up Adrian Peterson. Dude, he had some of his best years after that ACL reconstruction.
yeah,
But
yeah.
it's maybe that's because it took the left and right juke out of him, which it didn't during that run when he was trying to go after my boy Eric Dickerson's yards. But
Right.
it was more he was running more north or south, and he was so fast at doing that that it was just able to work at that. So
I
that's the angles and everything.
I think he got so good at running because he was chasing after his kids with that switch.
Yeah, dude. Oh man, dude
Fucking
switches.
asshole.
Yeah,
Fuck
yeah,
Adrian Peterson. I'm just gonna say it, man.
yeah.
Fuck that guy.
You're like, yeah. He really he lost a whole year and he really went down. It was almost
Well,
like,
it was that child abuse thing, is what I'm talking
mhm,
about, man. He's an
no,
asshole.
yeah, yeah. You
You
can't
don't
be
beat
like
your
that.
kids like that, man.
No, you can't, and you got to put it aside. So I seen some stuff of, my dad would be the man with the belt back in the day and stuff.
Yeah.
So I seen some stuff. I took it and things like that. But at some point, you have to grow. You can't continuously do things like that and
Right,
scar
right.
people like that. And that was a big part of my brother's episode was seeing the scarring always happen all his life, and then just having the pain from his body and stuff like that.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
really it really competes at, sometimes people's bodies hurt and they
Yeah,
don't really
man.
need to deal with that mind stuff. Some people and some people are just cruel and they just keep pouring
Yeah.
it on.
Yeah. So fuck Adrian Peterson.
Now I can already tell you have bad vibes about Mike Vick. Then,
Yeah, but one thing I'll say about Vic is he learned. He learned
yeah,
from his mistakes. He went to jail,
hmm,
he did his thing there.
yeah,
He seemed to come out on the other side, you know what I mean?
yeah, yeah,
And
and
I absolutely hate what he did.
of
I
course, that's just
and he deserved that jail time for sure, but like,
yep.
man, like he came out on the other side, I think.
Yeah, and when you talk about him coming out on the other side, and then you flip it back to somebody like Lawrence Phillips, how the Rams gave up a draft picks and everything, and gave up those couple years to get this this phenom out of Nebraska.
Right.
And then all of a sudden he has that incident with his girlfriend just throwing her downstairs, and then
Yeah, dude.
he tries to come out and just does it again. And then the draft, he comes, he starts the NFL season and then does it right in the off season again.
Dude,
And
what blew my mind this past season was when the Ravens uh like celebrated Ray Rice.
yeah,
After what he did, man,
yeah,
fuck Ray Rice.
yeah. And that's that, some people say, well, he deserves to get, but you seen him, he faded away because people knew that was just too much. He was also washed up too. So
Yeah, yeah.
who wants to deal with that? Who wants to deal with all
But
that
then they
baggage?
celebrated him this year. It's like, what?
Yeah.
Hold up. And they still celebrate Ray Lewis, who
Who's
literally killed a guy.
Yeah, yeah, it was
Like,
between knife exchange and everything. It,
jeez.
it just and sometimes so that's where a lot of people get political with the NFL, and they see all that, and then you see somebody like Vic who's be able to bring it back and to reel it in. But I'll tell you, man, I couldn't believe about some of that stuff. I was just like, and then you see it all end with Lawrence Phillips and the suicide in the cell at
Right,
the end,
right.
and
Well,
you're
and
like,
like Aaron Hernandez, man.
oh, that's
Jesus
just
Christ.
woo. He's part
We
of that.
got real dark on this podcast, man. We got dark here.
Well, Erie, sometimes that happens, but we're talking about the mentality of people and how they can come back. But at the
Yeah.
same time, you see people like that. You see, there's been in the past with like Jeff George where he gets sat for an entire season, he's finally gone. But you see people like, you could bring up, oh man, who was the quarterback for the Steelers that left? Tommy Maddox. Tommy Maddox before, was it Cordell that took over for him?
Yeah,
But
I think so.
yeah, so Tommy Maddox, he was supposed to be this college phenom. Comes out,
Yeah.
he stinks it up, and then he goes to the XFL and he wins a championship, and then comes and saves the Steelers. So then you go from there, and eventually you finally get the Roethlisberger. But
Who
with
fuck him, by the way.
yeah, that's the Brown love right there, right?
Nah, man, that's Ben being a rapist. You know, people kind of
Yeah,
forget about that.
no, no, people, but so we're gonna have to wrap things up right about now because we got about a minute to say. I
Oh
was
yeah.
like, dude, it ranged me at 20 minutes, and that's when it said it was like podcast. I was like, holy crap, right? And
Yeah,
then I
yeah.
was like sitting there, dude, we just made the last 10 minutes warp,
Oh
literally.
yeah, it was bad.
Yeah, but sometimes things have to be said, and sometimes you don't ever know where a podcast is gonna go, and
You
that's
don't.
that's the
Yeah,
most beautiful thing about it. I have no qualms. It's great to sometimes talk about that because
yeah,
you've watched football and you've seen all that happen, but now you make things beautiful happen for your city.
that's
Thank you,
right, man.
Ryan.
Hey,
It was
thank you,
great to
brother.
have you on.
Hey, thanks a lot, man.
You have a great way, and always remember to bring the pain when you go to the theater. You want to sing, oh, like Ryan. Dig it. Yeah.
Awesome, man.